include, once this system has been rolled out throughout the city, we'll be able to have load management instead of load shedding. I'm sure yourself as media, you have also been affected by load shedding. So once this system is in operation fully, we'll be able to load manage our communities, not to load shed them, because that also make them vulnerable for criminal activities when the areas are dark, when their stoves can't be put on, switch on, when their fridges can't be switched on in the 2 hours which we apply the management of power. This technology will allow us to identify customers that are cheating the system as well. It will reduce the number of cheaters in the system. We are confident that this intervention will reduce electricity theft and illegal connections. It will also enable us to detect water leaks, as we are also going to be having a satellite detector, which is now on the final stage of the tender of our municipality, so that we can use technology to prevent water leaks that we are observing. Last Thursday, the municipality tabled a draft budget which prioritizes infrastructure development to improve the quality of service delivered, particularly in the area of water and electricity provision. In the next financial year, the city will invest 2.2 billion to improve electricity infrastructure and approximately 1 billion rand for water infrastructure. This demonstrates our commitment to make meaningful improvement in the lives of our people, to create a conducive environment for investment. When it comes to fighting crime and grime, colleagues and members of the media, we have intensified our cleansing program for the CPD to get rid of the filth as well as crime and grime. We call upon informal traders and small businesses to work with us to keep our city clean. A similar initiative will be accelerated in our secondary CPDs such as Spingo, Pinetown, Verulam, and Tongat. Keeping the city clean and free of crime is key in attracting more businesses into the inner city, as well as residents to come and reside in the inner city. We are anticipating that if all these programs can go well, we can be able to attract around 450,000 people to come and reside in the CPD. For this reason, we have deployed a dedicated team of Metro Police personnel targeting various crime hotspots in the CPD and to enforce traffic, business, and buildings bylaws of our municipality. This is the work that has been started. We are cleaning the city. We are responding to the issues, especially on the hotspots of crime, so that we are able to reduce the number of criminal activities that are taking place. The heightened police visibility will go a long way in reducing incidents of crime in our city. As part of bolstering our crime-fighting initiatives, the municipality is currently finalizing the recruitment of 200 Metro Police officers to increase our crime prevention capacity. This is our annual target. Every year we recruit 200 new Metro Police. Yes, COVID-19 has disrupted some plans, but we are now resuscitating those plans moving forward. The recently released crime statistics indicates that EThekwini Municipality contributes around 50% of crime in the province. Obviously, we are the only metro in the province, so people migrate here. We've got bigger numbers. We have more than 4 million people living in this city. Hence, we become even the epicenter when it comes to diseases like TB, HIV, and AIDS. So therefore, we can't be immune even on crime, because this is where economic activities are concentrated. While we recorded an increase in business robberies in the CPD, Umlazi, KwaMashu, and Inanda continue to lead in murder and sexual offenses. There are other new areas which have joined, like areas of Mbumbulu and surrounding areas. We are also concerned about the ongoing killings of public representatives, including councillors, Amakosi, and Izinduna, and members of the public in general, and the mass killings that we are observing in our city. To accelerate our fight against crime, We meet regularly with the Minister of Police, Honorable Peggy Cele, or General Peggy Cele, and together we assess the progress in the implementation of crime prevention plans. Yesterday, we had our steering committee on safer cities, which is attended by national officials from SAPS as well as provincial and our municipality officials to continue to put plans in place to respond to the issues of crime. Interventions that the minister and the city agreed upon include the following: deployment of multidisciplinary teams to deal with the killing of councillors and officials. There are teams that are deployed by the minister in the province who are following up on all these killings that are taking place. They are making some good progress in some cases, and in some they are still investigating. Making Amaoti a fully fledged police station within a period of 12 months. That's a commitment that the minister has made. Most of you will know the area of Amaoti, how a population is growing in that area. So therefore, it only operates with a satellite police station. So now the minister has committed that there is work that will be done to ensure that there is a police station in that area. Ensuring that the installation of CCTV technology goes beyond the CPD. We received good news yesterday from Sanral as well, that their upgrade of their cameras is at an advanced stage, and their cameras will now be linked, will sign a memorandum of agreement between the Sanral, the police, and the municipality, Metro Police, to ensure that their information gets direct to our systems and our ops centers. Because we want to ensure that we recognize criminals when they arrive and when they leave the city immediately, so that we prevent them to go and commit crime somewhere else, and we prevent them to come and commit crime in our municipality. So it shouldn't just be cameras that takes your photo, then you leave. It should be cameras that recognizes your face. Give us how many cases and offenses you have committed in South Africa, whether in all other provinces, so that the police can start doing their work in catching you. Establishing dedicated teams to deal with bad buildings, drugs, and illegal liquor outlets is the commitment that, together with the minister and his team, will be able to attend to. Part of this is the appointment of the new district commander of the SAPS in EThekwini, Major General Keswa. We wish to welcome her. We know her dedication. She is a really public servant that is loyal to the system. She has been leading some VISPOL police activities around the province, and now she's deployed. She's deployed to deal with EThekwini. So we are hopeful that our collaboration with her in addressing issues of crime will yield positive results. I met with her yesterday. The provincial commissioner came to introduce her to me as a mayor, and we welcome her, and we wish her all the best in executing her responsibilities in EThekwini. On the city's investment drive, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the advent of COVID-19 and the July civil unrest adversely affected the economy of our city. As part of our interventions to stimulate economic growth and attract new investment, the city has prioritized investment in catalytic projects. In February this year, we undertook a visit to various catalytic projects in the city, which included, among others, Jongweni development, where there will be a development of residential properties, a new hospital, and a mall, and all other facilities, which is a mixed-use development. Oceans Umhlanga, where we have seen major developments. For the first time, Radisson Blue will be opening a hotel in the city. It is part of that Oceans development, and the mall that is also being completed in that area. We are told, I'm not a person of brands, but we are told that in this mall there will be new stores which are international, bringing new brands as well in the city. because people have not been remaining here, have been going to other cities looking for these international brands. So now we are having those international brands just here in Umhlanga. So those are kind of developments that we are talking about. Isibaya development, you have seen how along our ocean, how we are developing that area with the new residential areas, of course, with some commercial and mixed-use development. Brickworks in Avoca, where the manufacturing will be taking place in a massive way, with a lot of employment that will be created, as well as our Go Durban. I'm sure that you are interested to get more information on Go Durban. Our officials are working closely with the developers to ensure installation of adequate bulk infrastructure in these projects, which have a potential of creating over 200,000 jobs in the next 5 years. From 2020, we anticipate that up to 2026, that will be in a position to raise more than 217 billion rands investment into our city. To ensure that these projects are not disrupted, the municipality and the SAPS have established a task team to deal with unscrupulous business forums who invade construction sites and extort monies from developers. Our position is very clear when it comes to this. We want to work with all the business forums because the Constitution gives their life all the rights to exist. But what we can't accept as a city is when you go on your own, you go and stop projects, you negotiate deals there. We have opened an office here in the municipality adjacent to our depot in Ali Street, where people can come and present their cases. When they want us as the municipality to come and intervene in terms of mediating, we are able to do that beside shutting down the operations. To ensure that these projects are really succeeding, we will enforce the law. And when you commit crime, the only thing that the police must do is to deal with you as such and treat you as a criminal. In response to complaints from small businesses about lack of support, the city has established that SMME help desk to assist small businesses and social enterprises who want to access empowerment opportunities in the municipality within the confines of the law. This initiative is in line with our radical socio-economic transformation program of bringing the majority of people of EThekwini into the mainstream economy. When it comes to commitment on good governance and clean governance, as the leadership of the municipality, we remain steadfast in ensuring that we run an accountable administration. We are pleased to report that the city is making great progress in addressing the concerns that have been consistently raised by Auditor General. We have begun to convene bi-monthly meetings to monitor the progress in the implementation of our audit turnaround strategy. As a city, we pride ourselves that the city continues to obtain an unqualified audit opinion as reflected in the recently released Auditor General's report. We have also been able to address the matters that were raised by Auditor General from 5 to 2 matters. We have reduced them from 5 to 2 matters. This put us in a better position to achieve a clean audit in the next financial year. Those are the strides we are putting in place to turn the tide around. We once achieved it during the period of 2014 and 2015, so there's nothing that can stop us to achieve clean audit. Our main focus is on addressing irregular expenditure and implementing consequence management to officials who commit fraud and corruption in our city. We are pleased to report that since 2019, we have managed to reduce the backlog of disciplinary cases from 334 to 57. Those 57 are also in progress. Some of them, they are at a stage where they will be finalized in the near future so that we are able to see the result when it comes to that. We also pride ourselves as the city that we remain the only metro in the country that has not been downgraded by the credit rating agencies because of our stringent rate collection measures and ability to service our debts. Even during the lockdown levels, the city was able to raise the revenue seated around 95%. So therefore, we still want to maintain that standard. And we still post with our AAA+1 status, credit status as a city, which also makes us a destination for investment, which also give us a good record to go to financial markets whenever we deem to do so. On the update of the city manager's post, ladies and gentlemen, one of the important tasks the current leadership has been seized with over the period of 100 days has been the filling of the position of the city manager. We want to commend the panel that was approved by the council to drive the process of selecting the best candidate to lead the administration of the only metro in KwaZulu-Natal. Of the 286 applicants, 25 candidates were shortlisted. After a thorough selection process, the panel made a recommendation on the best candidate for the job. However, after deliberations, the council did not approve the recommended candidate, whose name cannot be divulged at this stage until he or she is informed about the outcome of the process. Despite these challenges, we are confident that the selection process was above board and followed all protocols as dictated by the Municipal Systems Act and Structures Act to ensure that there is no leadership vacuum at an administrative level. Mr. Musampele, who's seated on my left, will continue to act as the city manager up until the post is filled. We want to reiterate that the panel did its work diligently and did not break any law, as our sole purpose was to find a suitable candidate. We are confident that due process was followed. It is rather unfortunate that the opposition rejected the panel's recommendation on the basis of rumors and gossip which were circulated in the media. They did not raise any substantive issue to challenge the selection process which was conducted. The implications of the council decision and the way forward will be discussed at the next ESCOM meeting. Then we'll update the members of the public on the way forward. Now, as the mayor of the city, I reiterate the council took a decision which came as a recommendation of ESCO that the report of the panel must be rejected. I'm talking as a mayor here. But I'm aware that the ANC, the majority party, also supported the report of the panel. So there is a decision in place, so we'll update you as to what is going to happen after we've concluded our ESCOM meeting next week. We want to assure the residents of EThekwini that we'll handle this matter with the care and urgency it requires to ensure that our municipality remains stable and continues to deliver on its mandate. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, City Manager. So we will now open the floor to questions from yourselves. And how we'll do this is I will assign a number to you so that you know how to follow one another. And then when you ask your question, please start by introducing yourself and the media house that you represent. We take 5 questions at a time, and then we run through the questions until we are done. Ubabu Mayor may invite other members of staff, other members of the municipality to join me in answering some of the questions that you pose. We are now ready, then, ladies and gentlemen, to take your questions. This is number 1, that is number 2. Is there a third hand? This is number 3. So maybe let's start with this phase 3. Introduce yourself and the media house you represent, and then please pose your question.
Thank you so much. My name is Kapil Singh. I'm a journalist at News 24. Mr. Mayor, I have a few questions about the municipal manager position. I mean, just in terms of, you mentioned openness about the process for that, but the committee just is made up of 3 people. You are one of those 3 people. And the report that you're mentioning, will that report be made public, the one that was considered service delivery, obviously there's been some issues with electricity infrastructure, with aging infrastructure, with water. I mean, will there be any sort of consequences for officials or even politicians that were involved in terms of infrastructure and aging infrastructure? You have to have an overlap of maintenance in any sort of city, any situation. So, I mean, it's great that there's obviously measures to repair all of that. But what sort of consequences in terms of the delivery of services, even with service providers that weren't really coming to the party, that may have robbed the city and ratepayers of money? And do you believe the alliance between the ANC and ABC leaves the council, like other metros in the city, in the country, in a rather precarious position? I mean, not just because of the ANC losing a majority, but it also would be a very difficult position just for the city in terms of monthly budgets and coming to certain decisions. I mean, do you feel that maybe that could be a difficult position for the city?
The second set of questions.
Because Mayor is from News Africa. The question I had pertains to the appointment of the city manager. You are saying that the updates you have is that you'll update us next week after council has met. But the opposition that you refer to, particularly the DA, has said that the entire process must start afresh because they rejected the names that, the name that you recommended. Will you be starting the process afresh? Will we have to see another round of interviews? And what change do you anticipate to happen? Because clearly the opposition is convinced that your point of saying the process was above board is not the case. So will there be any changes pertaining to the application and interviewing of the candidates?
Thank you. There was a third hand.
Can you tell us in terms of how the vote went were you surprised by that?
The fourth hand.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Kaunda. I'm sure you know the face. But that's not the issue. I'm system of professional. It was a long statement. Say this delivery issues and all of that. But well, I'm not there because we've been hearing this since the time of Audit. James, but we've seen no progress at all. In fact, what we're seeing now is that the city is decaying. Crime is getting worse and everything. But let's go to the issue of the city manager. Excuse me. My understanding is that this is not a political position. It's purely an administrative position. What was the ANC Deployment Committee doing? Why was the ANC Deployment Committee allowed to intervene in this? Because my understanding is that they met and they gave you 3 names. So why was the ANC allowed to intervene in this when this is purely an administrative position? I would understand if it was a political position, but in this position, my assumption is that we need a capable South African. We don't need a politician or someone who's aligned to the ANC. So why you as the city allowed the ANC to intervene in this process? Because at the end, they are the ones that tainted Mr. Nelson. I'm sure we all know that he's very capable. He's highly qualified. But the fact that he was endorsed by the ANC Deployment Committee tainted him, and it made the opposition and some other members of the public to feel uncomfortable about regarding, with having him as the next city manager, because we all know what happened with Mr. Nzuza. He was endorsed by the ANC. Now we all know how he left the city. Thank you.
Okay, we will take this phone for now and Babme.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for your questions. You can switch your mic off, Mavuso. Let me start with the News 24, Pravin. On the manager's position, will the report made public? Of course, once all the processes are finalized, you make the process public. But since the report has been rejected from the panel, those are the nitty-gritties that the ESCO will need to persist with. The ESCO is not going back to review the decision of the council. Remember that the council is the highest body in the municipality. So once the council take a decision, we'll live with that decision. So therefore, the ESCO is to look at the nitty-gritties on the management of this process, because this process needs to involve those who participated in it. Our human resource still need to write letters to inform those who applied what was the outcome of the processes and all of that, and those who were prioritized as the top 3 shortlisted candidates, they need to be taken into confidence. Hence, we are not going to divulge more details at the moment on those aspects. So we respect their rights, that they need to be informed formally and properly, so that they do not accuse the panel and the municipality of flouting the processes. Aging infrastructure and what becomes the consequences for the officials who are involved. The process has already been started. Especially, you'll find that there is a contract which is supposed to be followed up and be processed, but it's just gets seated with somebody, not forwarding that to relevant committees and all of those details. So we have already started to take action against the officials who are not doing that. Those who are lazy, who are not doing their work, I'm sure you are aware that this year in July, the issue of the performance contracts will be taken even to lower levels, because it's used to be at a senior management level. So each and every person given a responsibility must now account on those conditions that the contract stipulates exactly what is required and expected from that individual. So the consequence management are going to be applied to those who are not doing their work. The issue of enforcing and instilling the culture of work that will make us to become productive as a city, to ensure that people come at work on time, people don't leave early, and as well as the absenteeism levels are reduced. Those are the systems that the city manager is seized with to put in place to ascertain that the productivity levels are improving in the municipality. Yes, we have more than 26,000 employees in the city, but productivity, it does not reflect that all of them, they are hard at work and working tirelessly to deliver on the services. So we've conducted a skills audit, which also gave us some answers on a number of areas where you'll find that things are not happening because the engineers are mislocated or mislocated to positions where they are not adding value in making sure that the municipality become more productive. So those are the things administrative that the city manager is seized with. Cost Corner, we get your question that there were comments that the DA said the process must be nullified. How the report of ESCO is captured, there were no dispute about it, because the report of ESCO recommendation was very clear, was that we reject the candidate who is recommended. So the steps that needs to be followed then are the steps that will be guided by our own legislations in terms of conducting this work, what needs to be done. So we'll talk about that issue in the ESCO, the modalities of such action that needs to be taken. But the council as the highest decision-making structure of the council of this municipality, so its decision still stands, that it's rejected this report. So when the mayor spoke about other political parties who supported the recommendations of the panel, it does not imply that the decision is now nullified of the council. So the decision of the council to reject the recommendations of the panel still stands. Tammy, we hear you that were we surprised about the outcome of the ESCO and its recommendation. And I don't want to be tempted to respond on the issues of relations of parties. Remember that I'm a mayor. A mayor is only responsible to run the municipality. But political parties on their own, they carry a responsibility to manage the relations, to assess them, evaluate them. So I think that question will be relevant also to go to the provincial sector of the ANC in the province to talk more on the relations that are taking place in the city. So we're not surprised. We're not surprised at all with the outcome that we received. Then the Mavuso, I hear your arguments that you are saying there's nothing that in this city is going well since Babumlaba and the things have deteriorated. We want to admit that there are challenges in the city. But we also want to share with the members of the public, there are many strides we have put in place and there are many achievements we have achieved as the city. So therefore, when there are challenges, those challenges do not wash away the achievements and the things that we are scoring. But we've got to attend to those challenges. Those challenges are issues of cleanliness. Those challenges are issues of water leaks. We acknowledge them and we are working on them. Those challenges of sewer spillages. Those challenges of street lights which are also affected by criminal activities. There is something there in our globes, in our street lights, which they also make use of it as part of the substance that they are utilizing, those who are smoking drugs. They steal that because they want that thing there. So it's a matter that we are working with the police and other law enforcement institutions to look at the vandalism of our infrastructure. We have discovered that in some areas where there's been challenges of water, is that people have interfered with our infrastructure. They vandalized it. You'll recall during December, during festive season, we had to close beaches because a particular pump was not working, so we polluted the beach. But we discovered that the valve was vandalized. And we had to attend to that. So I'm saying some of the matters will require law enforcement agencies to collaborate with us as a city because they are not of our own making. When people, they decide to steal water, we put main pipes, they start putting their own illegal pipes in our system, in our infrastructure, which will then affect others who are paying for services not to receive water as expected. So it talks on the collaboration and the social contract that we need to sign with our communities. What we need from our communities, let us work together. Working together, let us disown those who are doing illegal things. Let us support those who are paying for services. Let us support those who are receiving services in a manner that is expected and legally. So that's what we need to instill as a culture. A culture is not something which will be generated now and get implemented now. A culture, it's a process that will need to instill to the behavioral patterns of our own communities. Those behavioral patterns of our communities should also support us in doing our work. When you steal water, when you go and put your own connections to our, what happened to the pump that I'm talking about as well, which also polluted some rivers, is that the informal settlement went there and disconnected our system, the pump, the sewer pump system, and put their own connections, and some of those people are even selling that electricity that they are stealing from us. Then our pump is unable to work and operate as expected. Then we pollute rivers. So those are the kind of attitudes that, but the actions that we have put in place as the council, as the municipality as well, is to ensure that those informal settlements are now being reticulated. We are putting electricity in those areas so that people will receive electricity in a legal way rather than stealing from the grid. We have been answering these inquiries, Mavuso. The DA wrote me a formal letter. They accused us that the ANC Deployment Committee sat and decided on 3 names and all of that. I responded, and my response still remained the same. There's no deployment committee that sat and decided on the candidates of the city manager's position. Why we are saying that? The ANC is very clear in how it deals with its own business. I'm not speaking on behalf of the ANC, but as a deployee of the ANC. The only limit that the ANC has is when it deploys us as mayors, deputy mayors, as you know that we conducted interviews before we appointed, the speakers, chief whips or whips of the council, and dealing with the list of councillors who will be deployed in the municipality. So what is being raised in the media, we've been saying to the DA, please give us evidence of what we are talking about. We can't talk about rumors. So if somebody was just having his or her own drinks in a particular tavern, then you meet that person on the street, then starts talking things that which have got no base, then we can't entertain that. And our position is very clear, is that we have conducted the process clinically. Even candidates who participated in these interviews as the chairperson of the panel, they commended the panel for conducting its work professional and ethical. When we gave them the opportunity, because remember, you give candidates the opportunity to ask you questions as the panel. Instead of asking us questions, they said, but we are happy with everything that has been done here. We are certain that even with the media spats that have been there on the news, we know that this process is done clinically. Now, I can't communicate with you to deal with the accusation that in those allegations there were 3 names that people spoke about. Whether those 3 names, I can't mention those 3 names, but I can tell you that they are not there. They are not there. It's only 1 name which is there. So I don't understand now where does that thing comes from, and what gives it life, because there must be evidence in whatever we talk about. So the issues of the ANC and how the ANC run its own business will direct those to the leadership of the ANC to answer. But I was just answering on the scope of work that we are given to conduct in the city to deal with the issues of administration. So what we are looking for as a city, we are not the ones who develop the adverts. There are regulations given by COGTA that guides us, that for the position of this post and the other position of that post and the Department of Public Administration. So there are requirements. Those requirements, there's no question there which ask you how political affiliation do you have, what political affiliation do you have, and how close you are with the politicians, and whether you belong to a majority party or the minority party. There are no questions of such. We conducted a clear process, a selection process. We separated the interviews into 2. The first session dealt with the case study, where we wanted to check the competence of candidates. How are they going to turn around the municipality which we gave them as a municipality which is dysfunctional? Then they gave their own responses and their plans and action plans in terms of the issues of culture in the municipality, as well as leadership, style of leadership they'll be providing. So all these details, those details were furnished to us. Then the second session is the session which dealt with questions. They were given questions, they had to answer those questions. So we can tell you that we want to applaud all participants who participated in this process, because they performed very well, all of them. It's just that the selection process will need to rate people and ensure that those who perform more than the others, then they are the ones who get recommended. So that's how you conduct the interviews. This is not a political process, Mavus. I fully agree with you. This is an administrative process. Hence, the council takes a decision that since the city manager will be working very closely with the mayor, so the mayor must be sharing the panel. Not that the mayor is put there because he's the mayor of the ANC. Whoever who becomes the mayor, those are guidelines, will become the chair of the panel. But if the mayor is not available, the mayor is at liberty to delegate a member of the council, a councillor, who will represent the mayor. Then the regulations also require that we must have a second person, second councillor in the panel. Then that second person, the council took a resolution that Councillor Madlala, not because of his position and his deployment that he is the ANC, because he is the chairperson of governance which conduct oversight over administration of the municipality. He must form part of the panel. So therefore he participated. Then we had to appoint an external person to finalize this panel, because the panel must also look at issues of gender parity. Then we identified the CEO of Moses Kotane Institute, Dr. Ellenson, who's a female, to come and assist us on the processing of this particular exercise. So we were 3 in that panel. Then the administration of the city supported us in conducting our work. So it doesn't become a political issue, it's an administration issue, but where politicians are given responsibility, because the mayor will be working very closely with the city manager. So therefore, the mayor must also preside over the appointment of a person that the mayor will be paying oversight to. So I think that's how the process, there was no political interference. Now I'm talking as a mayor as well as the chairperson of the panel. There was no political interference in the process. I want to give the members of the public an assurance there was no political interference in the process. We conducted it clinically. And you know these processes, colleagues, we need to be careful because these processes, they are dedicated in nature. So there are people who participate. So any candidate who participated in this process has got the rights. If there was a dissatisfaction about how the process was conducted, they've got the right to raise those disputes. They've got the right to do so. So if there are people who feel that they will need to raise those disputes, they are at liberty to do so. The laws of this country allows them to do so. So it can't become an issue of political parties meeting, having a position of political parties to say we take this position. It should be guided. You need to give fundamental reasons why you can't accept the recommendation of the panel. So it can't be the political reason. If the political reason given is that we saw the media articles about this issue and the media queries about this issue, so therefore we reject the recommendation of the panel, it does not constitute the fundamental reasons why you can't accept the recommendation of the panel. So therefore, but there is a council decision, remember, we respect that council decision. I'm a mayor in this municipality, so therefore I'm also a custodian of council decision, and the council decision is that the panel recommendations are rejected. I thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Colleagues, do you have any more questions?
Makhona ofuna ukucacisa.
So before you, so you are 1, you are 2, and then you are 3 again. 4,
Can I have a second?
and then you are 5.
This one is just of clarity, Mayor. So, the way I understand you are saying that you will be guided by policy about what to do next following the rejection of council of the final recommendation. So currently, what an executive member is saying in the name of the program, which is ventilated ultimately the statement, is that the process must start afresh. I'm not aware of the policy, I'm not as educated about it. And so I hope for your guidance here. What does the policy say when council rejects a recommendation on the city manager?
Sangona, Igamo Tabisokoba from the Witness. Mr. Mayor, there's a new reality happening in the EThekwini Council, and I know this is a political question, but we've sort of suspected that the ANC was going to struggle since they no longer have a majority. And I think with this city manager vote, we actually see that there is going to be trouble, and there is two very important votes that are coming up in the next couple of months, which is the MPEG and the budgets. So those are also I think what we're hearing right now is it's a flip of a coin whether they were going to pass or not. So I just wanted to ask is the ruling party, which you lead, is it willing to work with opposition parties just for the sake of the city? Because I think what we're seeing right now is there is a trouble of very important positions, of very important processes being gridlocked because the main parties or the opposition parties and the ruling parties in the city cannot agree. So I just want to know are there any sort of aspects, we take the budget for example, the DA is sort of wants more funding to be directed towards infrastructure for electricity and water. Is there a matter where the city or the mayor or the ruling party can work with the opposition parties for the sake of the running of the city? Thank you.
Third one.
Just a follow-up there. In terms of, you mentioned that earlier that you were not surprised by how the vote went. So my understanding was that the issue was supposed to come up to council last week, which was city marriage, but it was pushed back to Monday. In that period, was there only, I know that maybe it might not be a purely legal process, but you are in coalition with other smaller parties. Was there no engagement between the process that this is the way we are going, these are the countries we are going? And in light of how the vote went, are you not concerned that going forward you might have a situation where if you don't agree with your partner's vote of no confidence comes up every 3 months, you create a situation where the party is not really fighting the vote.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor, just in terms of, you mentioned the crime issue earlier on about within the city. In 2019, your colleague, Fazia Pir, she had quite a huge press briefing with us in the Point area where she said that, that the extra metro personnel, building bylaws would be implemented in the area. The one question she couldn't answer was, among a lot of other questions, was in terms of the operations that you guys are running, are there not drug operations with the police in terms of just going and grabbing a guy from the street who's obviously like a runner for drugs, or do you have intelligence-driven operations? And with that, I also heard that the dog unit in the Metro Police has just one patrol dog in the Greater Durban area. So just in terms of resources, I also have a question if that's actually true.
Thank you once again. When I drove in something, I noticed something very strange. I saw the deputy mayor. I don't know whether I was assigned to meet the Wamash or not, because I understand that there is a water crisis over there. Wamash will do my land, I'm not sure that we're aware of that. But let's not go there. How is your relationship with the deputy mayor? Because my understanding is that there is that competition for prominence and publicity. I do understand that there are attempts to contain him. How is the relationship with the two of you?
My voice. I like how Mavoso put things. No, let me start with the issue of the deputy mayor. First, you can see that we don't have chairpersons of committees here because they are executing their own responsibilities as committee chairpersons. Councillor Mavundla as the chairperson of infrastructure, whenever there are challenges, that relates to his committee, he's bound to go there and address those issues, as Councillor Sabelo used to do when he was still the infrastructure, whenever there were issues of water, sanitation, and electricity. So he's the first person to go there. Why the chairperson must become the first person to go there? It's because the mayor, as a political head of the institution, should not go there first. I must receive a report from the chairperson of the committee on how things have been processed, so that at my strategic level as the mayor, I'll be able to conduct necessary interventions. So therefore, it's important to clarify that. So there's no competition at all. I'm the chairperson of finance, security, and emergencies. So I'm seized with those responsibilities of security, issues of disasters, and issues of finance. Hence, you see how we are performing, and as we are performing better in terms of our investments and everything that we have shared with you. Now, once the chairperson and his committee, there is a standing committee where they deliberate on matters, they have an agenda to resolve committee challenges, then those issues get elevated to the ESCO, which I am sharing as the mayor. Then the ESCO processes those reports. Once that report is processed by ESCO, I then become the mouthpiece of the ESCO, as the chairperson of the ESCO. So therefore, in whatever the council decision has been, whatever council decision has been taken, the mayor must communicate that. In whatever decision that the ESCO has taken, the mayor must become a mouthpiece to communicate that. So there's no competition. So if you find deputy mayor working there, you interview him, what is he doing? So he just gives you answers. There's no problem about that. But the policy positions, the decisions of the collective of ESCO must be communicated by the mayor as a custodian of policies and decisions of the council, with the delegated powers by the council to the mayor to interact with external stakeholders. I hope I've clarified. So there's no competition. We work very closely. I saw him when he was standing out. We meet and greet. We laughed, we made some jokes. Then after that, he left. Then let me come to the issue of water, Mavuso, you are raising. There is a challenge at the moment. The challenge with Umgeni water infrastructure, because they are bound to stage and manage how they distribute water to us, because their infrastructure as well has got some challenges. So therefore, you'll find it in other areas, there will be water interruptions. Why? Because they are managing it, because there are challenges they are experiencing in their own assets. So we work together with them, but we have agreed with them that whenever there are such challenges, it shouldn't be us as EThekwini that must communicate that. It should be Umgeni Water issuing public statements on their infrastructure and what is the challenge on their infrastructure. At the moment, the other challenge that we are faced with on the northern part of the city, because we are hands-on, we are full-time, we are working here on full-time basis, is the issue of electricity. There are people and contractors who are putting fiber in our city. Remember, they are not the contractors appointed by the city. They are doing their own work. But in doing their own work, what they've been doing, they interfere with our assets. Water, they break our pipes, then the community get affected. Now with electricity, many communities do not have electricity as we speak. We are attending to those matters. Our teams are working 24/7 to ensure that we address those challenges. So they've interfered with our electricity. So hence many areas have been affected. But there is work in progress in addressing that. The issues of crime, Councillor Fozia Pierre was correct, and I'm reaffirming what she said, that will ensure that we increase the capacity of Metropolis. We are not only dealing with the capacity in terms of personnel, we are also giving them other gadgets to work. At the moment, we are piloting body cameras. we are piloting that project because we want them to use body cameras when they do their work. So that is being piloted because we want to increase the capacity of our metro and their capabilities to address issues of emergency and challenges that the city is faced with. I'm sure we are one metro that has also put more resources in equipping our metro police. We are now at the rescue aspect of doing work. We support SAPS with our rescue teams because we gave them more equipment to be trained in that area as well as to do their own work. So we have a metro police that has got capacity. When I was in the Human Rights Commission, one of the commissioners there confirmed that some of those who came before the commission, they gave evidence that Metropolis was better off during the unrest, although their footprint was not all over, but business people responded, and the Business Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the city said that at least Metropolis did something which is commendable. So that must be noted as well. So when we talk about the capacity of our Metropolis, we talk about Metropolis that has got the capacity and capabilities, but we still need more members of Metropolis. Why we still need them? Because we must have at least 5,000 Metropolis officers. For now, we are seated at 1,800, which is around 2,000. Now, let me come to the issue of engagements in between during the processes, because we're supposed to resolve on the matter of city manager last week, Thursday. There were some technicalities. We agreed that we'll defer the matter to Monday's meeting. Not that there were differences. The report was not presented because of some technicalities. Then the report was then therefore presented on Monday. Yes, those who are tasked with that responsibility to talk to other political parties, not to lobby them for who must be appointed, because that on its own will become an interference, a political interference. But to lobby parties that the report that will be presented to the panel should be a report that will enable the municipality to do its work. Because Auditor General has raised a query with the filling of this vacancy post of city manager. National Treasurer has also raised a concern. Provincial Cogta and National Cogta raised a concern. So therefore, we are bound to finalize this issue. That's why we had to accelerate the processes. And I can report that with all the processes which were conducted, we were still within our timelines as the panel. What we presented as the schedule to the council of conducting our work, we stick to that schedule 100%. So that's what we did. We completed on time. Now, are we afraid of vote of no confidence? Vote of no confidence are part of the democratic process. They can't be put away if there are parties that feels that there is a need for that. But that matter belongs to political parties. It does not belong to me, whom will be also affected by the very same vote of no confidence if it happens. But political parties are going to manage that, their relations, ensure that they work on the issues which are before them. When I responded to the question, I did clarify that the ESCO is not going to be reviewing the decision of the council. The council is the highest decision-making body. So the ESCO is the implementing structure of the council decisions. So the ESCO will need to sit and look at how it is going to implement that decision of the council. So that's a meeting. No reviewer, nothing. We can't review the decision of the highest structure as ESCO. But of course, in executing that resolution of council, we will seek legal advice so that whatever we do is within the ambit of the law. So that's what we'll do. Are we willing to work with other parties because we see that balance of forces are not in our favor? since we came here, even in the previous term, I appealed to political parties that let us handle matters of the public with care. And we don't need to put politics in each and everything. It's not about the numbers, it's about how we run the municipality to be responsive to the aspirations of our communities. For instance, the issue that the DA has raised with us, with the budget, is the issue which we have addressed in this budget. In this budget, we have made necessary allocation to deal with the issues of the aging infrastructure. In this budget, there are many systems that have been put in place to respond to the plight of the poor, especially in areas where there is no water. In this budget, we have catered for the expansion of reservoirs, where we see that the quantity of water we have in those reservoirs is no longer adequate to provide the communities, since the households have grown in that area. We have also put in this budget the system in terms of upsizing our water pipes. Remember, in other areas there are challenges because the pipes that we are using are no longer adequate to provide adequate quantity of water to communities, because there are many new developments and settlements in the areas which we are talking about. So therefore it necessitates that you start a program to ensure that you enlarge, you upsize your own pipes. In the CPD, you've been receiving complaints as media that we are busy working here. We have become a construction site because we are also dealing with the aging infrastructure. We are dealing with the bulk water pipes in the CPD. We are dealing with our sewer bulk pipes in the CPD. We are dealing with the landscaping in the CPD, as you have seen around the river town next to ICC there. That program is continuing in the CPD to beautify our CPD, to reclaim our own space as EThekwini Municipality. Now, we are also having what we call an inner city regeneration plan. That inner city regeneration plan incorporates the issue of the bad buildings. If you can walk around here, you have started to see that people are starting to repaint their building. Some are starting to rehabilitate their building because we are enforcing the regulations and the bylaws of our municipality. So we are happy with the positive response, but we are not happy with the pace. Why we are not happy with the pace? Because we want more landowners and property owners to ensure that they start beautifying their own buildings within the CPD so that the CPD will look good. We are addressing issues. These multidisciplinary teams that we are deploying in the CPD are dealing with the stormwater systems. They are dealing with the lighting in the CPD. They are dealing with the water leaks and sewer spillages and all of those challenges that are confronting our issue. They are also dealing with the informal trading. Informal trading, our approach is that we have allocated people spaces, but we must admit as a city that those spaces are not enough to cater for everybody. Those who are given license to operate, they are lesser than those who are operating illegal in the CPD. There is a program of allocating further sites and places for other informal traders to be relocated so that we open up space in the CPD for other businesses to work freely without any interference and interruption by those who are trading on the street. But those who are trading on the street, they are looking for the means to feed their families and to support their kids who are in universities, who are studying in different schools. So therefore, if you chase them away without providing an alternative place for them to trade, you are actually perpetuating criminal activities in the city. So we do not want to take that approach. We treat them with respect, but we also want to enforce to them that they must open up our pathways for people to walk freely in the CPD. Lastly, the issue which I must address. So within the inner city regeneration plan, we are working with private partners to ensure that there are opportunities for the gap market, social housing within the CPD, as well as the student accommodations around the CPD, so that we have people who reside in the CPD. But the advances which we have put in place in terms of stabilizing our area and how the issue of crime is being tackled. You are correct. Praveen, when you say the operation should be intelligence driven. It shouldn't be about bringing more numbers of police at the point at Albert Park. It should be about what are you targeting. So those were the discussions we had yesterday with the newly appointed head of police in EThekwini and the provincial commissioner. There are plans that they are putting in place. We'll be meeting with them to present those plans and finalize those plans so that we deal with issues of crime decisively. And I can give assurance to the members of the public that in this CPD and in our secondary towns, they will see differences. In our communities, we are also building community structures to fight against crime, to combat crime in their own areas. So those strides will give us and will yield positive results in terms of reducing the levels of crimes in our city. I also want to touch on the issue which has been raised before. You know, as a city, we acknowledge the weaknesses in the system. Part of those weaknesses is that we need to start charging people who do not want to work. And that process has been started. And we must intensify that process. We need to deal with corruption decisively. Those who still believe that they can still commit corruption in the city, they must do it on their own risk. We will be ready to conduct a lifestyle audit to our SCM department because they will be the first team to conduct lifestyle audit in this municipality. As soon as the national issues on the bargaining chambers there are concluded on the lifestyle audit. Otherwise, we were ready as the city, but now there must be those consensus. There must be that consensus that must be stricken when it comes to the issues of skill lifestyle audit in our municipality. So we are committing ourselves to the members of the public that this municipality is turning things and tide around. To cite a few examples, we have Operation Sukumasake, which we've been visiting areas. Let me take an example of Ward 94. In Ward 94, the community there complained about the unavailability of Sizakala Center, Regional Center, for them to be able to access the closest center to pay for services of the municipality and get information. That center, as we speak, it is now operational. We have delivered it. They complained about the roads. I went there to introduce contractors, and I also went back there now to open those roads which have already been constructed. So this is how we are responding on issues. The issue of the bridge, most of you know Pilani Velu Mall in Umlazi. So the community have been raising a challenge because that river is big and people are using that river to cross over to reach to their own residence. Now, the challenge has been that the bridge has not been there. The community took initiative to construct their own, let me call it their own local traditional bridge. And we responded to that plight. The bridge I'm talking about, it is being constructed as we speak. Then they also complained about the lighting in that river because there are many people who have been killed there and there are many criminal activities taking place. If you can go there now at night, you'll see the lighting that we have put in that area. So this is how this municipality is responsive on the issues that people are bringing before us. But we must admit, needs of the community are limitless. So we can't resolve everything now. So we are dealing with the issues of human settlement, dealing with the transit camps that are in the municipality. Of course, the speed and the pace in which we are moving is not the one that we expect and that we want, but because of the unavailability of resources, especially finances, to deal with that. But we are happy to report that MEC Sbia, who is responsible for public works and human settlement in the province, he is working very close with us to assist us to deal with the slums clearance as well as the transit camps in our municipality. So he's doing a very good job when it comes to that, and we are working closely with him. So those were the issues raised. I hope I did not leave anything without being attended to. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It does indeed seem that you've addressed all the issues. Colleagues, I think this is a good point to wrap it up. Some of you have requested one-on-ones with Madam Mayor. We will do them right here. So I would just request that those who are still remaining this side are fairly silent, because some of those one-on-ones are going to be live crossings. So I'd like to thank you for your time this morning. I'd like to thank you for your presence. Madam Mayor, thank you. We know with the budget hearing starting, it's quite a packed program that you have. And to thank my colleagues also for helping us to arrange this morning's session. We will then adjourn the session here once we allow those who require one-on-ones with the mayor to interview the mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Siyabonga. Siyabonga.